Good day, everybody. This is Michael, and I'm going to go through a process here that is actually working itself through me right now in real time. I figured, why not just turn on the camera, see what happens, right? I heard this phrase here today. Are you willing or able to bet on yourself? Are you willing or able to bet on yourself? Now, for those of you who have listened to my videos, you have heard me talk about we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? That we are God incarnate. We are an expression of source. We are an expression of God. We are the universe experiencing itself, however you want to term those things, right? And this is what Christ was all about. This is what Christ was here to teach us. Now, when I say Christ, let me rephrase that. This is what Yeshua was here to teach us. It is not Jesus Christ, Yeshua Christ, as in first and last name. It is Yeshua, the person, the physical embodiment or form, right, of God, expressing itself as Yeshua. Christ means anointing, right? Christ is a title. It's not Jesus' last name or Yeshua's last name. And so I've talked about before the fact that, we are God expressing itself. We are unique expressions of God. We are fractals of God. And I've talked about a little bit about fractals and the golden ratio before. You can look that up if you want. It appears everywhere in nature, so many places. Can you bet on yourself? Can you bet on yourself? So most of you, if you've listened to me with any consistency, I left my job in October of 2025, right? And that was something that had been coming for a long time. And I needed to take a sabbatical. I just needed to step away. I needed to take a time and enjoy some things in life during a period of health, because any extended periods of time that I had had away from work in the last 30 years had been for health issues. And I decided, yeah, that's ridiculous. I want to take some time off where I'm not dealing with a health issue, where I'm healthy and I can go do what I want. I can experience what I want. And that's what I did. And during the sabbatical, it's been a huge decompression time. It's, and I was all charged up to like create a YouTube channel and do this, but I also took some time to say, you're not stepping into that. You're not doing that right away. You're not moving from one hamster wheel of corporate 9 to 5 and jumping right into another hamster wheel that just looks different on the outside, but you're doing the same thing. You're just running in this hamster wheel because it serves some identity for you, right? And I wasn't willing to do that. It's amazing how much time it has taken to actually decompress and kind of move away from that 9 to 5 thinking. At the same time, 9 to 5 is all I know. It's all I've really ever known for 30 some years. And I've never been one who had to generate my own income per se. All the jobs I've ever worked is, hey, you've got a job you want me to do. I can do that. You pay me the money. I'll give you my time and my skill and my ability and my effort to do that. Now, I want to be real clear about something. There's nothing wrong with doing that. People who say that, you're not really living a spiritual life if you're working a 9 to 5 job and this and that, they don't have a clue. They still have something that they are not seeing in their own lives if they express those kinds of things. And that's fine. I don't want to judge those people. I'm just saying that's not truth. What's interesting is a few weeks ago, well, actually, this was like it's been a couple of months ago now, 2-3 months ago, maybe. I did my trip to the Redwoods. And once I did my trip to the Redwoods, some other things started clicking for me. And I've always had to carry my own emotional baggage and carry a lot of other people's emotional baggage and carry a lot of things that wasn't mine. That was my issue, right? Carrying other people's things that aren't mine. And I kind of got to the point of going, I don't know if I want to do this YouTube channel. I don't know if I want to do coaching. I don't know if I want to listen to people's problems all day long. I don't know if I want to do this or that. Everything feels so heavy. It all felt like everything I've already done in life. Why would I want to go back into that space and feel that heaviness? And there was a point that came that was like, it feels like I really just want to return to business analyst work. It's like I know how to do that work. It's the path of least resistance here. There's certain goals and certain things I know that I want to get to now. And that seems like the fastest path to get there. I already have the skills. I already know how to do the job. I just go get a job and go back into contracting and, pound the stuff out real quick. And that propels me along in a quick way to meet the goals that I had come up with. It also felt like a breath of fresh air, but it also felt very unnerving to tell people that were close to me that, you know what, I'm not sure I want to do this, create this spiritual YouTube channel and be there for people in this capacity, because it felt like I was creating something that was going to become a trap or a box for myself, an identity that then I would be chained to. And I did not want that at all. And the interesting thing is, I had the conversation with some people and said, I really think I'm just going to go back to business analyst work. And I was expecting, old programming, old things in my nervous system were saying like, oh my God, don't have this conversation. And I was like, no, we have to have this conversation because there's a little war going on inside me here. And I know that I need to find some resolution to this. So I need to have this. This is what scares me right now. What scares me is having this conversation. So I'm going to have the conversation. And the interesting thing was, nobody said anything. Everybody was like, great. Yeah, I think that's awesome. I'll support you in whatever you choose to do. There was no judgment. There was no pushback. There was no, oh, you're failing. You're such a disappointment. I knew you couldn't rise to the occasion. There was none of that. And although mentally I knew that would be their response, my nervous system felt differently. The funny thing is, as I started putting my feelers out, right, I noticed that the market was different. And the market's been off and a little odd for a few years now, definitely during the past year. And as I threw my hat back into the ring with multiple recruiters and different things and started looking online myself, I was surprised by how little there actually is out there for business analyst jobs, especially within the constraints of what I'm looking for. And so I told myself, I'm not going to sacrifice myself. I'm not going to, there are certain standards that have to be met if I'm going to take a job. It's a relationship. You step into a job, you're stepping into a relationship. So what's the kind of relationship that I want? So I made a relationship agreement for me and the type of position that I am generating and that I'm willing to take on. What does that look like in terms of how many days do I have to go into the office? Is it fully remote? What is the pay like, etc. And all of this felt very good and clean. What was interesting was to see as time went on, nothing. It's so quiet. There's like hardly any jobs out there. And I was like, isn't this curious? I've done work like this long enough to not get all upset, like, oh my gosh, I made this decision and nothing's out there. No, it's more like, wow, isn't this curious? Isn't this interesting? And doesn't it feel interesting that the biggest challenge for me was to give myself permission to go back into this work? And it even felt like that is actually the challenge. Not actually going back into that work itself, but having that conversation and saying, it's okay. You're free to choose what you want to choose. And by me saying, I think I just want to go back and do that which I kind of wanted to get away from. And I was met with a feeling of relief, a feeling of support, a feeling of that's okay. If that's what you want to do, have at it. So as time has gone on, it has been the quietest I have ever seen this. And as I talk to the recruiters, these are recruiters I've worked with off and on for years. These people have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever. They've seen uh, the landscape, and every single one of them is saying, we've never seen anything like this in the IT space in general. That the last year has been so odd and and it's even gone up on its head even more in the last 6 months, where they will have employers who will say, hey, find us this. This is a role we have to fulfill. Find us some people. They'll even do the interviews, right? And then poof, nothing. Nothing ever comes of it. And in some of those cases, the employers don't ever even get back to the recruiters. And the odd thing is they're consistently saying these same types of things. I was submitted for a number of positions, and poof, the companies actually told the recruiters in these particular cases, you know what, we decided to go with somebody internally. I was submitted, never got an interview. I don't know if they interviewed other people. I don't know any of that capacity, but it's very odd. And I'll look at the job sites each day, and I'm like, there's nothing out there. And I've been checking in and going like, okay, am I where I'm supposed to be right now? And I don't like those words supposed to be, but am I operating in an aligned state of being right now? And the answer keeps coming back, yes, absolutely. Now, the reason this stood out to me so much is, are you willing or able to bet on yourself? When that was said in this video that I was watching, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know, am I? I know I can do a lot of things, but when it comes to certain things, for instance, going back to VA work or having to generate and have income come in some other capacity, in some other way that is equal to or more than what I've made in the VA space, which is good money, am I really willing to bet on myself? And logically, mentally, I can sit there and rationalize and say, of course, if you build something, you are not going to have to be chained to it. That's a belief, right? And it's also something that you're unfamiliar with. And that's what they tell you. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to give all your time. You're going to have to be married to this thing, And it's like, okay, that's a belief. I don't have to do it that way. But the truth is, I don't really know how any of it works. But the one thing I do know is that everything generates from within to the without, right? As above, so below, as within, so without. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. We've talked about that before a little bit, right? And the fact that you are an incarnation of God, you are a unique expression of God, means that our creations, we have that creative force of the Christ within us, right? And Christ is your higher consciousness, however you want to term that. That's operating from that more enlightened state. That's operating from a place of knowing thyself. That's operating from a place of trusting in yourself, of trusting in higher consciousness, of knowing that all is mind as the Hermetic state, and that everything that has ever come into being has started in the mind and has then manifested itself. There are verses that say you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. Christ is within you, right? There are verses that say God gives good gifts to those he loves. Now, God is love. So God loves everything and everyone, right? And it goes on to say, when it's talking about the Father gives good gifts, it's talking about, and the Father is another term, symbolic term for higher consciousness that is within. The Father, God, gives good gifts to those who ask. Seek and you shall find, knock on the door shall be opened, ask and it shall be given. If the Father is asked for some bread, if we go to the Father and ask for some bread, the Father does not give that person a stone. What is given is what is asked for, right? These are very Hermetic principles, although these principles are found in many other places as well. These principles are littered throughout the Bible. I would argue these are the teachings of the Bible. That all is within. Everything starts here. Everything comes out. You are the generator. You are the creator. Now, yes, there are other forces of creation and stuff beyond just you. You are not the end all be all. But you are responsible. You are the one that is responsible for setting your mind on things above, which is another Bible verse. You are the one that is responsible for being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Nobody else is going to do that work for you. You have to do it, right? You have to do that inner work. You have to set your mind upon things which are lovely, which are good, which are upright. It's another verse, right? It's your responsibility. You are the one that directs your energy. Go back to the Hidden Equation of Life videos that I have, where I talk about, I believe it's Matthew 6, and I can't remember if it's Matthew 6:33. That might be talking about the single eye. But it's Matthew 6, the Hidden Equation for Life, and it's talking about seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. This is all about where you direct your attention. And where your attention goes, energy flows, right? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Set your mind on things above. I can do all things through Christ, the Christ within, the kingdom of God within, that gives me strength, right? And it's about doing those things in alignment with our true self. And I'm looking at all of this stuff. I'm looking, are you willing to bet on yourself? I'm like, God, when I heard that today, I was like, shit, man. I don't know if I am willing to bet on myself. There's a lot of damn things I can do, a lot of areas of my life where I am willing to bet on myself. But when it comes down to really living an aligned way with something that I have felt drawn to my entire life in terms of wanting to teach and wanting to help people and this and that, I don't know. Am I willing to really bet on myself, or am I just willing to take the easy path? Right? And neither one of them is right or wrong. There's no God sitting out there that's going to judge me one way or the other for it. I'm free to make whichever decision I want to make. But there is some truth to say, if you want to fully let your light shine, what does that look like, Michael? You are the light of the world. If you want to let your light shine, what does that look like for you? And every damn time it comes back to, it looks like teaching. It looks like leading. It looks like sharing. But then immediately my mind is like, okay, that's great. How do you get any income? You need income to live, right? And I look at this and I go, why is the BA work? Why does that stand out to me? Because I know it, right? It's known. It's familiar. I understand how it works. I understand. I show up. We have an agreement. I have an agreement with an employer. I show up. I do the tasks that they give me to do. And in turn, they give me a paycheck. Whereas over here, when I am creating some of these new things that I wanted to try, right? It's completely unfamiliar territory. Now, when it comes to, do I know how to create YouTube videos? Yeah, sure. Do I know how to teach? Do I know how to put things together? Do I know how to lead, smaller groups and stuff? Do I know how to coach? Yes. And I've done many of these things in many different capacities and stuff like that. Now, do I know how to organize this? Do I know how to do it in a way where I still have a lot of flexibility in my life, and yet I have enough money and enough income coming in where I can still live my life the way that I want to live my life, you know, with some of the comforts and some of the experiences and this and that I desire and that I want. And that's where I get tangled up in my head and go, I don't know how to make that work. But the funny thing is, when I've thrown my name in this hat for BA, normally by this time I've already had a number of interviews. I've got some people, like, things are moving, things are going, And this time it's just like, McFly, hello, McFly, anybody home? Right? And I find that curious. So the other day I was just thinking to myself, when I first got out, after I'd given myself a couple of months and got through the holidays and everything, I sat down and I wrote, let's pull all the things together that I know about myself through various methods and through various things. And I created this, and I totally forgot that this even existed, even though I created this. What's it say? January 26th of 2026, right? Is when I really put this together, the meat of this together. I titled this thing Manifest This 2026, It's Time. All is within and the journey home to self. And what I put in this were thoughts that I were having, right? I talked about purpose and what purpose means to me. I put in there the fact that I am not going back, right? I get paid to exist, to do the things I love, to show up the way that I want to show up. I put a section in there, what are Michael's passions? What are some ways I can utilize my love of speaking and teaching and music and writing? I put in there remembering what I want my work or service to look like. I put in there some information on my council of advisors. I put in there a section of time for the adventure zone, an affirmation that is titled, This is what I was built for. I put in there my soul name. I put in there a daily declaration and more affirmations of self-permission of a new path. I put in there what I wrote was Michael's life, work, purpose, and calling back in 2021, an old writing that I had found from 5 years ago. I put in there quotes and thoughts to remember. I put in there a synopsis of life path number 1, which is the life path that I have. I put in there my human design, some high-level aspects of my human design profile of a karmic astrology report. And the thing is, they all say the same damn thing. And the interesting thing is, it's not this. Do some of those skills that is laid out in the way that I am constructed, in the way that I am built and everything else, am I able to use those skills in this environment? Absolutely. That's why this environment resonates with me so much. That's why I work really, really well in this environment and staying in this business analyst space, right? Because it allows me to think, it allows me to analyze, it allows me to look at things from different perspectives. It allows me to find solutions. It allows me to trust my gut and trust my instinct when I know I'm looking at something that's been developed or the technical plan for it or something. And although everything looks right, there's just my knowing will tell me there's something not quite right here. There's something off, something missing, where it's not going to work 100% of the time or something. It's given me the ability over the years to train. There's a lot of documentation involved in BA work. There used to be more documentation than there is now with the current methods that they use. But, how do you construct things? How do you take complicated things and break them apart? And then break them apart in ways that they can be connected back together. And that this group over here, which works on the business side, understands it. And this group over here that works on the technical and development side, that they understand it, right? It's a bridge. I act as a bridge between non-technical and technical. And it's interesting because that's what I do with my shamanism. I'm a bridge, right? I'm a bridge between the immaterial and the material, between spirit and form, between the formless and the form, right? And so, yes, there's a lot in this BA space. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just way out on a limb here. There was a reason I was drawn to this type of work. And yet, what I have said for 30 years is I can't wait till I could create something that I actually give a shit about. Because when it comes right down to it, I don't care about the database I'm creating. I don't care about the user interface I'm creating. Yes, I'm going to put effort into it. I'm going to make it good. I'm going to make it so that these individuals who are using this on a daily basis or whatever, that it functions properly for them, that it's intuitive, that it makes sense, that the process flow makes sense. I am going to put all my efforts into that. But at the end of the day, I don't care, because to me, it's not necessarily helping people grow more from the inside out. It doesn't help them remember the truth of who they are. It doesn't bring them back to that deeper knowing that they are a spiritual being, an eternal being who's having a human experience, and that this is a glorious life that we get to live. And yes, there's going to be hardships and struggles and challenges in this life. But the fact that we are God having this experience, we are more powerful than we think we are. As I look through this booklet, I'm amazed. There is 44 pages in this booklet that I created specifically for myself. And I've been looking at this and I've been looking at the situation with the job and the fact that nothing's coming through. And I know that it doesn't matter if anything's available or not. What is mine by divine right will come to me in divine timing. It's already there, right? And yet at the same time, there's been this gnawing question in my mind before I even heard this: are you willing or able to bet on yourself? There's been this question in the back of my mind that's been showing up every now and then. It's been going like, am I taking this because it's the easy path? Because it's the known path, right? And every time I start trying to stretch into this, I kind of start tripping on myself because it's an unfamiliar path. And there's been a part of me that has said, have you really challenged yourself? I didn't get to the point of being a black belt and stuff like that and by taking the easy path. It was a challenge, right? And I had to find somebody who knew what they were doing to teach me, to guide me along that path. And it's the same thing that happened back here in the BA world. When I first started being a BA, I had no idea. I just saw the job description, and there was a lot of resonance there. Like, oh, I like that. I could see myself doing that, right? But I got into the job, didn't have any formal training, didn't have any formal experience. And the company sent me, along with other BAs at the company, to these classes that had we paid for them on our own, it would have been like 10 grand. But they sent us to these classes where we could learn and we could practice and we could go through scenarios and we could take that back and we could practice that in our daily work while we're getting paid, right? We're practicing it and we're doing it with real stuff. And then over the years, you get better and better and better. Well, have I really done that in this space? I've been looking at these things. I've been looking at this and going, the reason I'm so good in this space is because I took the time to invest in myself in that. Over here, it's like, yes, I've played around with it. right? But have I consistently applied myself to it? It's like when my life blew up and I needed to, we'll just say, uncluster my life. All right. I didn't just sit back and go, I wonder how you do this. Because the fact is, I didn't know. Like, I had no clue where to start. I just knew I couldn't do any more of that. Right. So I found people, I found programs, I found things out there, and I immersed myself in these programs, and I worked on the material from these programs and went through a lot of retreats, went to a lot of group calls, went to a lot of private calls, went to trauma therapists, went to all kinds of things because I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow, I wanted to expand. I wanted a new life, and I knew that that new life had to come from here, right? That everything that had been created before in my life, I was a part of, and I had a dynamic in the creation of that. Again, it doesn't mean I'm responsible for other people's behaviors, for other things where I truly was the victim and powerless in certain situations, especially when you're really young, right? It's not absolving, it's not denying that those things happened. It's not taking on responsibility as though I created those things to happen to me or anything like that. It's like, no, those are things that happen because everybody is creating their own reality in this world, and these things mix and match and um, cross with one another at times. Let's say. When I saw this, are you willing and able to bet on yourself today? I was like, oh my god. It felt like somebody was calling out. It felt like this person that was saying this. It was just a YouTube video, but it felt like this person was saying this was going like, "Hey, Michael, yeah, are you really willing to bet on yourself?" And the simple fact is, if I do this and go this path forward, I know what this path looks like, and it will get me to my goals. And I can see these things that I want. And yet, at the other time, I'm looking at this and I'm going, but what about this again? And if I really believe that we are creators and we are powerful creators, then I should be able to create this and get even further faster, and not by working my entire life away either. But I should be able to get to my goals in an even shorter time period doing this, because this is even more in alignment with the truth of who I am. This meets a good, you know, 70% of the alignment of who I am. This over here meets me at about 95%. And that number may even be higher. But this is much more highly aligned. And so as I've been noticing what's happening in the past couple months with recruiters and stuff and the lack out there, there's part of me that's saying, you know what, dude, maybe you don't go back to work at all this year, for the remainder of the year. Maybe you take and you invest some of your money in a program that challenges you, in a program that pushes you. No different than, hey, I want to be in the martial arts and I want to move forward in martial arts. Well, you find somebody, you pay them to teach you, you get a good teacher, and you put in the practice. You don't just show up, go to class. If you go to class, we've seen people that do that just go to class, they do the work in the class, they forget about it for a week, they come back to class next week, nothing's any better. They forget about it for a week, they come back to class the next week, nothing's any better. It's like, no, you have to be practicing that. You have to be challenging yourself, and you have to be working with it almost every day between classes. That's your responsibility. And so there's been a part of me that's been saying, maybe I've had such good blessings come from the programs that I've been in previously. Maybe there's another challenge waiting here for me where I truly find, can I bet on myself? right? And speaking this out loud and saying this, there's something there that's resonating. It's not to say I won't return to this, but it's again, it's a noticing. It's not judging this as good or bad. It's not judging this as good or bad. It's a noticing. Where am I? What are the decisions? What things from my unconscious are driving some of these things and some of the decisions that I'm making? You know, have I really invested in trying to understand how this world over here works if I was to do something like this, right? And the honest answer is no. I have just barely put my pinky toe in the water and haven't given it its time. The interesting thing about this too is I've done this kind of stuff long enough that I know that if I say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to enter into a program and I'm going to work that program and I'm going to see if I can make this work, right? I'm going to believe I can make this work. That is about the time, once I start getting into that, that's about the time a job will pop up from here, right? Not that that's good or bad, but something will come up and go, hey, here's a bright, shiny object. Do you want to chase this object instead? It's got money waiting for you, you know? All you have to do is say yes. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. Another thing I wanted to bring into all of this, and then I'll wrap this up, is most people know the story of Jesus when he walks on the water, right? The disciples are out in the boat. They're on the Sea of Galilee, I think. But at any rate, they look out and they're like, oh my gosh, who's out on the water? And Jesus is like, fear not, it's me. And he's walking on the water, right? Christ is walking on the water. And Peter says, Lord, if it's you, then tell me to come to you. So he says, yeah, come on out, Peter. So Peter steps out over the boat, steps out onto the water. And at first he's walking along the water. He's like, yeah, the hell yeah, that's just great, man. But then he notices the wind and the waves and everything, right? And all of a sudden he begins to sink. And Jesus reaches out and pulls him up and says, oh, ye of little faith. And that's not a rebuke. Jesus is not rebuking him there. Jesus is saying, you know, why did you give up? Why did you not keep going? Because man, you were doing it. It's like if you first learn to ride a bike, and when you're a kid, you know, you're teaching them how to ride a bike, and you have training wheels, and then you take the training wheels off, and you're holding onto the back of the bike, and then you let go at some point, and they're doing it on their own, and they fall, you know, and they may be upset, and you may say, it's okay, you know, let's just get back up and try it again. You're not going to judge them. You're not going to be harsh with them. You know, you're just going to say, that's okay. I have faith in you. Why don't you have faith in yourself? You can do it. Just keep trying at it, right? See, that story there, a lot of people take that story very literally, but it's all symbolism, right? The water represents the emotions, right? The chaotic, and there's a storm going on. So this emotive water also represents life, right? So in our life, there's all this emotion, all this storms that are going on, creating this confusion. And when he steps out, when he's keeping his eyes focused on Jesus, the Christ, right? It means he's keeping his attention focused in a place of higher consciousness, that he's master over his mind, that his mind is master over his emotions. This is the husband having dominion over the wife. Husband and wife, when they talk about that in the New Testament, is not husband and wife in the literal term. It has to do with rational mind, logical mind, husband, right? Versus your emotions. And another way to parse that out is what happens when you let your emotions run the show. Chaos ensues, right? If something makes you angry, and you react in that feeling, in that emotion, and let that emotion just Hail Mary over everything, right? It can be really destructive. But there's a space in there where it says, yes, here's the anger, here's the storm that's come up, right? And there's that space where the husband, the conscious mind, says, I feel this. I feel this right now. And my anger is not wrong, but I am also not going to just let this emotion be unleashed in an unhealthy way. And you take that moment to respond. You are master of your emotional state, is what the husband and wife things talk about. We can talk about that a little bit more some other time. So here, when Peter's walking on the water, Peter had his mind focused on higher consciousness, on the Christ within, right? I can do this. I can walk on the water. I can create a whole new way of living, an income for myself, says Michael, right? And then Peter, or in this case, Michael, goes, man, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. It feels like a trap. It feels, I don't know. And I start doubting, and I start shrinking back, and I start having all of these fears. And I go, I think I'm just going to go back here because I know this. I know that what this feels like, and I begin to sink. Right? That's all that story is talking about. Mastery of oneself, because we are focusing our mind on higher consciousness, on the belief that God gives good things to those who ask. Right? As the Bible states. And yet then we turn around and we begin to doubt that. We let our mind drop back into a lower consciousness state where fear or scarcity or lack or unfamiliarity is driving, rather than love and trust, all these attributes from higher consciousness, right? So let's just say I have got some work here to do for myself. I'm going to read a little bit of life path number one. Life path number one. If you want to figure out your life path, you take, this is my birthday. So your life path, you come up with your life path by adding these various numbers together. Okay? So 1 plus 0 here for the 10. So I was born in October. 1 plus 0 is 1. All right? The day is 19. So 1 plus 9 is 10. Well, we need to reduce 10 down to a single digit number. So 1 plus 0 then comes down to 1. And then here we have 1970. We have, see me struggling to add these up. So we have 17. So this comes down to 8, right? Because we do 1 plus 7. Well, that equals 8. So then we got a 1 plus an 8, which equals 10. Again, we need to get down to a single digit. So we take 1 plus 0. What's that equal? That equals 1. Life path 1. Then you can look up online somewhere, watch a few different videos. I would encourage you to watch a few different videos from a few different people on what is life path number 1 and see which one resonates with you. Life path number 1 is the initiator, the pioneer, the architect. It's pure origin energy. It's the spark, the first breath, the one who says, I will go first. Now I'm getting chills as I'm reading this too. Core essence is independence, leadership, originality, self-direction, initiation, and creation. Much of that appears over here in the BA world, but the independence does not. However, I am a contractor, so there is a bit of independence there because I'm not held to the same things that employees have to deal with and put up with, right? So again, it's a fairly good match, but it's not nearly matched as well as what this would be for me. On a soul level, number ones are here to open paths that did not exist before. Not to follow, not to fit in, and not to comply. When aligned to life path, number ones embody natural leadership, strong will and determination, innovative thinking, courage to stand alone, visionary drive, and inner authority. Sovereignty, right? You tend to feel when something is false, outdated, or limiting, and your system wants to tear it down and rebuild it correctly. And that is absolutely what I feel when I do this kind of work over here. That's absolutely what I see in the world in so many instances, which is why I want to do this work over here to go. A lot of these systems that exist out there today are not supporting us, right? And we need better systems. We need better things in place to help support us, to help us remember our own power rather than outsourcing our power to everything else. Number ones often feel like I don't belong in this system because I'm here to redesign it. I love that. Common distortions or shadows that appear in the life path number one: feeling misunderstood or unsupported, being labeled too much, rebellious, or difficult, isolation, overfunctioning, carrying everything, even though it's not yours to carry, feeling like everything depends on you, swinging between over control and burnout. I have lived all these and still do them at times. Struggles with authority, especially false authority. Yeah, false authority. I will call those, try not to cuss, I will call those people out. No problem. Many life path ones were conditioned to shrink, obey, or wait for permission. And that has absolutely been my experience, which creates deep inner friction and dissonance. So that is very much me. The core lesson of life path one is self-trust and sovereignty. Now, I've arrived at sovereignty, and I've arrived at a lot more self-trust than I used to have. But to get to a place where I can literally, really leave this boat over here, right? And walk across these waves to get over to here, to something that is new, to something that is unfamiliar. Lots of other people are doing this, and lots of other people bring in money doing this, but I don't have any experience with that. So it is a stretch for me to get out of the boat and to walk this way and to be able to consistently walk on this path. And life path number one, life will keep asking, can you choose yourself without apology? Can you lead without dominating? Can you act without needing approval or validation? Can you stand alone without becoming hardened? True mastery is quiet, embodied leadership, not ego and not force. Those are things I've talked about before too, where if you're trying to force something, and in martial arts, you don't go force on force. That's just dumb, right? Anyway, you're not meant to climb an existing ladder, is one of the things that it says. You're meant to build a different structure entirely. And one that others eventually recognize as solid because you lived it first. And that's why you embody it. Right? Human design, I have a 6'2" profile. You are a generator with emotional authority. In plain language, I am here to respond to life, not chase it. To master myself through lived experience, to lead by embodiment to lead by embodiment, not persuasion. I am not going to sell you shit, right? Which is one reason why I've always avoided this, because it looks like they're selling systems, They're selling things. They're like, I have all the answers and everything. And I look at that stuff and go like, no, that's bullshit. You know, you can be a light for somebody else. Yes. Right. You can be that golden projection for somebody else. They see something in you that's like, oh, that person has something. What is that? I want something like that in my life. Yes, you can be that. But, I've avoided part of this path over here because starts to feel salesy to me. But there's ways around that as well. In plain language, under my human design, you are here to model what's possible simply by being who I am. Your power is not mental, it is somatic, it is felt, it is emotional, it is experiential, and that is absolutely true. I love teaching, I love working with people that way on a mental level, but it has to be heart-based work. It's also why I love, in certain instances, putting my hands on people or working with their energy fields, right? Because that resonates strongly with my somatic, emotional, and experiential way of being. I'm not going to go any more into this. I'm going to spend a lot of time doing this, looking at this, saying, isn't it interesting how I created this? I created this booklet as a reminder for myself that as I started going down this path, as I entertained this idea of moving away from this, that I could come back and I could look at this and go kind of like, remember who you are. Yes, this works. And there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to judge yourself for it if you go back and do that kind of work. But have I given this a fair shake? Am I willing to bet on myself? And the resounding answer that comes to my mind when I look at this question in regard to this is like, no, I haven't been willing to bet on myself, which is why I gave myself permission to revert back to this, which is also now while I'm saying, okay, great. You gave yourself permission to come back here. Nothing wrong with that. But have you really given this a full shake? Have you really given this your best effort? The type of effort you did when you knew you couldn't go back and engage in the same type of relationships that you had had previously in your life. You worked and worked and worked and learned and played and allowed yourself relaxation and different things because you knew you had to do life differently. And that was a great part of my journey. So now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, where am I in this? Where is my honest assessment of where Michael is in this? And I encourage each of you to do your life path number, to look at something. Don't just take in everything that's said about your life path. If it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. If it does, great. See what else resonates with you. You have to tune in, become aligned with yourself, right? Quiet everything else, shut everything off, and just be still and know. Be still and know that I am God, right? The I am dwells within the temple. That comes from Exodus 3. It also comes from the New Testament. Be still, know that I am God. The Christ lives within. And we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. I'm going to leave you with that today. Again, if you didn't get as much out of this as you normally do from some of my videos, just know this is me processing in real time. And I figured, why not just share it with you? This is what the process looks like. I did this. I'm putting pieces together. I'm pulling and drawing from different things. I'm tuning in order to do this. I'm going back and going, I know I wrote a document. Where's that document? Oh my God, there's 44 pages of stuff here that I wrote to myself as reminders to myself. And then, poof, I forgot about it. Right? And now it's coming up into my awareness and it's going, hey, remember me? Why don't you look at me? Why don't you look at me here and see if there's anything in here, right, that allows me to move forward in being more willing to bet on myself in this area of my life. And I will leave you with that. Blessings and love to each of you.